for joining us for this afternoon session in the Learning Lounge. We're going to visit with you all about some do-it-yourself products and services that we partnered with Engage to Learn on. We're very excited to have a district to showcase their experience and success with these tools. So before we get started on the presentation, I'd like to take a moment just to do some quick introductions. My name is Brandon Kaur. I serve as an Associate Executive Director at TASA. Excited to be here with you today and excited to be partnering with Engage to Learn for this.
Thanks, Brandon. So you know that TASA has such a great vision for what they want to happen in school districts, and so we're honored to be partnering with them as well. I'm Shannon Burke. I'm the CEO of Engage to Learn. We're also honored to be partnering with Frenship ISD.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm Michelle McCord, and I'm the superintendent at Frenship Independent School District, which is Lubbock, basically. And I also want to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Cindy Call.
And Cami Green is their Culture Design Strategist.
All right. Just to kind of highlight our plan for you this afternoon, we began conversation several months ago with Shannon and her team at Engage to Learn about how we might be able to partner on some DIY services and tools that they have made available to help school districts move along the continuum of future-ready leadership and learning. And so we were excited to officially launch that this fall, I believe in October or so. And this is one of our first opportunities to kind of share those details with you and to kind of frame and provide some context for the work and the information that we're going to be sharing with you today. Frenship ISD is going to share kind of the details of their journey with Engage to Learn, and then we'll kind of tie it all back together, provide some details of the DIYs and our partnership between TASA and Engage, and then how we can kind of connect you to those tools and resources for you to kind of take a deeper dive. Michelle, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brandon. So again, we've started working with Engage to Learn. It's been a few years ago. So I wanted to just talk you through, kind of step you through some of our the process that we've gone through. It's been a few years that we've been working with Engage to Learn, but I think what I hope you'll take away from this is that it seems like a very daunting thing to do, establish beliefs, to do coaching, to have a strategic plan, but really, I hope what you'll take away is that it is very doable on your own if you have the right materials and the right guide. So for me, the very foundation of every bit of work that we've done starts with our beliefs. And so once you can establish what your beliefs are, and when I say you can establish, I mean with all of your stakeholders. So bring your stakeholders together, someone from every campus, parents, don't forget students, and teachers and principals, and you establish what is it that we believe in friendship, and what is it that we believe about learners. And when you establish the beliefs, everything else is built upon and around those beliefs. And so it's the lens through which we view all of our work is the belief system that we have. And so that is where we started, and that's provided the map for everything else that we've done. That's been the building block. So you can see our beliefs. People are our most important resource. We put learners first, and I won't read all of those to you. And so from those beliefs, that's where we began our strategic designing process. And basically, it's long-range planning and for the next 5 years. And so in 2016, we partnered with Engage to Learn. And basically what they did is they didn't establish any of our beliefs for us, and they didn't set any goals for us. They provided great facilitation and guidance for us, a lot of the materials, and then we did those ourselves. We translated our beliefs into action steps. So beliefs to behaviors. And so it has been, it's really not as hard as it sounds. When you begin, you always go back to your beliefs. Everything that we do, everything that we've built is aligned to our beliefs. And so our strategic design process, again, they provided all of these great documents, but it was our people who actually performed most of the work. We did the work, and they gave us some great tools. And one of the things that I'm embarrassed to say that we had never done before is that we included students in our strategic designing process. Sometimes we forget those, and those are our customers. So our call to action, how did we come up with this fancy call to action? It was based on our beliefs. Basically, we went back to the beliefs and we were like, if this is what we believe in our district, then we need to be very clear about what our action steps are going to be. It's going to drive all of the work that we do and we have done. And I won't read that to you, but if you think back to what the beliefs were, then this is sort of just operationalized or action steps to what our beliefs are. In our strategic measurables, so these stakeholder groups that we brought together, remember the same group of people, parents, students, teachers, principals, they helped us, we helped determine what our shared beliefs were, and then once we had that and our call to action, then we stepped through what are our measurables, what are our long-term goals for the next 5 years, what is going to drive how we align and dedicate our financial resources, our staff, all of those things. So we came up with the strategic measurables. And then, through those measurables, another really important piece of work that we have done that has made all of the work just seem a lot more clear is that with our teachers and principals, we created a learning design framework that's customized to Frenship. It's not a curriculum, it's a framework. And you can see that we brought together 30 teachers and administrators, and we worked to design this lesson framework or a learning framework so that we could sort of provide a guarantee to parents of, we don't require our teachers to be lockstep in the content, but we can guarantee you about what you're going to see in a classroom and the instructional strategies that are going to be used. And here's why that was important for us. Because in this era of A through F accountability, is TEA here? Chad, I'll say that more quietly. Okay, so we got really quiet, but we developed what we know that we have to comply with everything that TEA tells us to do. However, we hold ourselves accountable to the community. It's their kids, their school, their money, and we want them to define for us. We design the work together. So if we're not all about A through F accountability, then what are our guarantees? What do we believe about learning? And so our teachers, based on the beliefs that we had, the very first slide that we showed, and our stakeholders, we developed together, we call it the Tigers Learning Framework. And you can probably imagine we are the Frenship Tigers. And so our teachers created this framework through which every lesson is taught. Now, the teacher may not go through each one of these steps in every single lesson, but again, it's aligned to our beliefs, but it also is aligned to T-tests, and it's also aligned to what we said that we believe about learners in our community. And it increases student engagement. And then the responsible rollout. One of the things that I love about Engage to Learn, and that I learned very quickly from Shannon Burke, the CEO, is, and I knew this, is that superintendents are really good about thinking of initiatives, but we're not very good sometimes with the responsible rollout, so that we can sort of permeate the organization with and institutionalize something as great as a learning framework that's designed by and for your community. So in the first year, we established the beliefs, and we coached up some teachers on the framework. We didn't coach every teacher because we didn't have the time or the resources to do that. So we had Engaged to Learn brought in a coach who helped us coach our teachers on the framework that we had developed ourselves. And then in the second year, which was last school year, we actually had a coaches academy. We have actually now trained up our own coaches on our own learning design, and we have coaching conversations with teachers. And so in the past, we have Friendship. We are a high-performing district, but we're a growing district, and so it has been hard for us to manage the different initiatives happening in every campus. And this has really helped us to have a shared vocabulary, a shared understanding of what learning looks like in a classroom in Friendship. And we've just built on it. Then we're in our third year. In this third year, we expanded the coaching to coach our principals. And one of the things that as we've kind of been doing this work, and we've seen growth in our students after a couple of years of coaching, and then what I began to realize is that we didn't really have a strategic or purposeful plan for training up what a leader looks like in Friendship. What do we want our principals? There's many frameworks through which to discuss leadership, different styles of leadership. They're all great. But we wanted to get really specific and clear on what are we looking for a leader in Friendship? What are we looking? When I say leader, I'm not necessarily just talking about an administrator, teacher leader, students. And so what we've done is we've utilized that framework and these behaviors that we want to see. What does excellence in teaching and learning look like? And what does excellence in leadership look like? And we've used that to help us when we begin to, we're looking to hire a teacher, or we're looking for the next principal, or we're looking at, does this program or does this initiative, does it align with our work that we've done? And it really makes your work easier because you've vet everything through these lenses. And so I'm going to let Shannon talk about this part because she'll do it much more eloquently than I.
Michelle has been such a great leader because she understands local context and she has a great vision for what to do in a district. And even though she's high performing, they're a high performing district, her and Cindy both, they're a high performing district, but that didn't keep them from saying, we can do something more, we can do something better, we can do the right thing for our learners every day with their experience, not just what they brought to school automatically, but what we can actually do to add value in our school district. And so we're just honored and always humbled really to work with leaders like that get that. They don't have to do anything different, you know? I mean, really, they don't have to do anything different. You'd still get good scores, but they wanted to do something more for kids. And so that's just awesome to see that happening and then that learner experience changing. So how does that happen? It happens with great leadership within your district, and then as the partner, we went through a process of helping them do coaching. Because like Michelle said, you can't just train people and say, okay, now you go change your practice, right? So Cindy does a great job of leading that group of folks, and we've had, like Michelle mentioned, coaches in the district. This is the research, y'all, on the difference between coaching added to training or training alone. If you do training alone, and it's crazy when you look at this research, Joyce and Shower's research, if you do training alone, you get about a 5% return. So you're going to see about 5% of what people get trained on actually transfer to practice. You can do a lot of other things, but if you add coaching, you'll see up to a 99% return. It's between 95 and 99% return. So you're going to see transfer actually happening. So this is why we all have initiative fatigue in education. You know, I was in education as a teacher, assistant superintendent, and we were constantly rolling out these initiatives, and everybody was like, oh, one more thing. That's why you get that initiative fatigue, is the training without the coaching ends up making people tired because they don't actually know how to change practice even if they want to. And so the coaching makes a big difference. So that's how we've kind of worked through, and just in the system when we worked in Frenship, these are some of their numbers in terms of growth. And so that coaching, that Tiger learning framework that she mentioned, has underneath it best practices. It's best practice research. So it's 12 best practices that we've curated. That's what teachers are coached on, and then they get badges and micro credentials as they go through that process with that. So that's some of the teacher growth that they're measuring. Coach growth also, because they have their own coaches. Do you want to talk about this? Okay. Are you sure? Okay. And then principals, as you mentioned, working with the leadership. So it's just some of their bright spot growth that they're seeing over time in educator growth, because as you know, if you want students to grow, what has to happen first? The adults have to grow, right? Teachers and principals have to grow if you want to see student growth. And so we're measuring that in that district, and they're seeing a lot of growth as a result. And then as a result, we're seeing student growth as well. So it's not all about the test scores, for sure, and it's definitely not about that in Frenship, but they are, even in high-performing districts, seeing some increase. So you don't have to choose between, oh, if we want to do the right thing for learners, we're going to tank. You don't have to think like that. You can realize that if you support it with coaching, you undergird it with best practices, that's not going to happen. That's not their focus at all, but they still are getting results. And here's Brandon Cord.
So I mentioned earlier our recent partnership between TASA and Engage to Learn. Just to provide a little bit of historical context there, TASA has been a professional organization for superintendents and district leaders since 1925, so we're nearly 95 years old. Engage has been in existence for the past 8 years and have been partnering with school districts. And while there may seem to be a span in the age of our two organizations, there's actually a lot more similarity. What you need to know, and many of you probably may realize already, is that TASA facilitated the Public Education Visioning Institute beginning in 2006. That work culminated with the publication of the document Creating a New Vision for Public Ed in Texas in 2008. Quick show of hands, I'm sure many of you in here have seen or at least heard of the visioning document. And so where I feel like TASA and Engage are extremely aligned is for roughly nearly the last decade. We've both been very focused and engaged on carrying out the work of that visioning document, so much so that over the last few years, TASA actually went through a process to kind of redevelop our vision and our mission. You see in our mission statement that we are aiming at promoting, providing, and developing leaders who create and sustain student-centered schools and develop future-ready students. And so where I feel like that our paths have really become parallel is over this last 8 or 10 years, where TASA is focused on advancing and supporting the principles of the visioning document and is interested and has launched efforts to do that on a statewide level on both the professional learning, the support and resources, as well as the advocacy front. What we don't have and what we haven't had that Engage has is the experience in really locking arms with school districts, as Michelle shared with their journey in Frenship, locking arms with school districts and allowing those principles from the visioning document to become a reality. We knew as an organization, as we approach our centennial celebration, which is coming up in 2025, that we needed to ensure that we put a very strategic process and intentional plan in place if we wanted to become the organization that we want to become by the year 2025. A couple of years ago, Kevin Brown, our current executive director, when he was president of TASA, launched a TASA 2025 process, brought together a task force of members from across the state to really look at what is it that we're going to need to do if we're going to become who we want to become. Through that work produced the outcome of that TASA 2025 process was a strategic framework that was really built around 3 areas: professional learning, member engagement, and advocacy. And as you see on the screen, there's 7 long-term strategies. That task force, and by adoption by our executive committee, believe that if TASA as an organization can focus and accomplish these 7 long-term strategies, that we would kind of realize those aspirational statements that were outlined in that strategic framework. But what we realize is that we can't do it alone, that we've got to find partners out there who are doing the work and partnering and supporting school districts and advancing the work. And so conversations, as I said earlier, began with Shannon and her team back in the summer. We formalized the partnership this fall and launched this suite of resources that we're calling DIYs. And so what we're essentially doing is allowing districts who are interested in going down a similar path as what Michelle and her team at Frenship experienced, but maybe are interested in doing that themselves. So through this partnership, Engage has packaged some of the services that they provide in coaching school districts in a kind of do-it-yourself model. And we believe that it's going to require partnerships and access to resources and tools such as this if our districts are truly going to be able to become future ready as described in the visioning document, and TASA as an organization is going to kind of realize those aspirational statements by the year 2025. So what I'd like to do now is kind of pass it back to Shannon and let her provide some of the details on these DIYs.
Thanks. So one of the things that we realize, and as we work with school districts, is what kind of capacity and leadership capacity every school district has. So working in Frenship, it's awesome because really Michelle or Cindy could facilitate any of the things that we facilitated for them, but they don't really have time as a superintendent and assistant superintendent to come up with all the process and all the tools and all the materials to do that. And I learned this actually when I was an assistant superintendent, and we were trying to be very innovative, but it's like, well, I already had a full-time job, so like you're working 80 hours a week to do your full-time job. What are you going to do to try to innovate? It's like all that on top. So in fact, of course, as always happens, so then it was like, we have to split my job, and we're going to hire somebody for one of those positions. And so we actually did that in Coppell at the time. And that was during that whole visioning process. But what we've done now with TASA is really created this idea of what if we could, and I'm going to skip some of this to get to, there we are. What if we could package some of these services, create an online platform, and basically provide you all the agendas, all the slide decks, all the checklists, everything that we've developed over all these years and learned all the hard lessons on, and then just like sell it to you at a much cheaper price than it would cost for you to pay us to come in and do service, because obviously boots on the ground are people in your district is going to be more expensive, but this platform is like a tool that you can pay less, about half actually, of the service. Sorry, Cindy. She's like, hey! Yeah, sorry about that. We didn't have it back then. But that you can pay about half of what it would cost for the service, but then have all those resources for you. And so, especially because TASA is really focused on, how are we serving our smaller districts? How can we utilize these kind of things to do that? So we still offer service to districts for sure, but we're really excited about our DIY products. So it's a virtual toolbox, basically, is what we call it. And everyone in our company has been an educator. We've all been teachers, etc. And so it comes from a place where we designed it from is that, that background, as well as all of our experience working with great districts like Frenship and learning over the years what are the key things that you can, how can we make this process as simple for you as possible? And so that's what it's about. These are the different ones that we have. So any of you thinking about doing your own strategic design right now, or learner profile, or leader profile, any of these things that Michelle, they've done it all pretty much in Frenship, and we have the DIY set up for that. So whether if you want to create a vision for your culture, if you want to create a strategic plan for your district, if you want to do a leader profile or a learner profile or an educator profile, these are all the ones that if you're interested in community accountability, we've been doing this work for years, and so we can provide you just a DIY, and you can create your own community accountability, engage your stakeholders like Michelle was talking about, and make this happen. So these are some of the different ones that are available. What we provide to you on the platform is literally everything we have. It's literally all of our stuff that we use, our facilitators use. We're not holding anything back. It's all in the platform. People are like, are you sure you want to do this? You might not have any more business. It's like, well, we really believe in the mission, and that's really true. We really want more school districts to have access to these things that you need to do what you're trying to get done with your vision in your school district, make it really actionable. So that facilitator platform has an online course for your facilitator to go through quickly and learn how to do it, all the pro tips that we have. It also has a tool builder, so you can customize any of the tools as well. So you might want to add your own logo, all those kind of things. So you can customize it. I know, Cindy, I'm so sorry. She's like, wait a second. Y'all still need cultural tenants. You can do that one. We'll give you that one for free. That's okay with Brandon. And so it has all the agendas, it has all the resources, all the checklists, everything that we use for our facilitators. Plus it has a participant platform. So when you're going in there to do this design work and you have a team in there, they can actually get on the platform too and work with each other, collaborate with each other. We've kind of, where's people? Oh, right there, guys. we basically kind of recreated Google inside the platform, so people can collaborate inside these documents. We always used Google for it in the past, but we just created the platform so people could use that and get inside there and do it. So those are the tools that are available. This is a little bit about what it looks like. There's a facilitation guide, so as you're going through the process, it's interactive that you can use to facilitate it. So we're very excited about this opportunity to be able to partner with these TASA, with our school districts, and then be able to provide kind of the results of all of that to districts to be able to do this themselves. I think you have a timeline. There's a lot of great resources. This is a little bit about what the system looks like. If you want a demo of it, we're glad to share a demo with you. Just actually, do we have a place up here? Oh, if you text DIY to 345-345*, you can get a demo of the DIY. So yeah, thanks Candy for together a great slide deck, right when I was thinking it. If you want to see a demo, then you can just see what all is inside there and what you might want. So I think at this point, we can take questions from anyone if you want to ask questions or if you want to stick around. Or Brandon, did you have anything else you wanted to share? Okay, good. It's also mobile. So, and Michelle has to go. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Michelle Ford.
I hope that what you take away from this is that you can do it. With this, I also got a chance to preview the DIY kits, and so I was like, all of this is in here. This is what we did, and it really made sense. I'm not a professional development guru by any stretch, but it just makes it seem doable. It's not overwhelming at all. All the work has really been done for you, and you just have to have the person come forward and use the protocols that they've provided. And it really does simplify the process. So.